So I was looking around for analytical Melee content, despite what some people might think, but I ran into a little problem, and that is that 99% of all the in-depth analytical Melee content has 1. No thumbnail, 2. An absolutely undiscoverable title, and it's basically as optimal as you can get it for not being found. So there are of course a lot of other resources other than YouTube videos, but in general I think these are a lot easier to find. And most character discords, I have a link for all of them in the description, have them linked on one of the channels. It's pretty easy to find the other resources. So originally I was going to try to include a category with all the entertaining content creators, but I think most of these are already big enough to get into your recommended, or can be found just by searching Melee. So instead, here are some smaller entertaining content creators to check out before we get into the analytical content.
But the general consensus seems that Marth Fox is more or less even.
Anyways, with that over, let's get into the more analytical content, starting with the general channels. And I'll have everyone linked in the description. So, first of all, Mr. If the Melee community cared about analytical content, I would have so much sick stuff by now himself, Fiction. Despite the, interesting things he says from time to time, it's hard to argue against his more than 100 hours of analytical content, involving basically every viable character. And he uploads pretty much daily. And then we have Drugged Fox, which is the same as Fiction, except he doesn't upload as much anymore. And then we have SSBM Tutorials, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Melee channels of all time. And despite the clickbaity titles, there are a lot of hidden gems of knowledge in there. Just take some things with a slight grain of salt, because a lot of the content is sometimes a bit over-exaggerated. Next up we have PPMD, who has a lot of entertaining content, mostly aimed at newer, or honestly even intermediate players. If you think the other content creators are too heavy or honestly boring, then I highly recommend checking out PPMD if you haven't already. A lot more digestible information. Finally, for the general Melee advice category, we have Third Share, who has pretty much all the tech in the entire game. If you want some more tech specific information, this is the channel to go to. So let's get into the content creators for the specific characters. So for Fox we have Pipsqueak, KJH, and don't forget his second channel, I'll link both in the description, IBDW, Drugged Fox, and Fiction. Drugged Fox and Fiction have content on pretty much every character, but their Fox content is especially good. Next up we have Marth, and this is not a content creator, but if you're trying to improve or learn as a Marth player, I highly recommend checking out Melee.guru, Melee.guru, I don't know, I'll link the URL in the description. It's just a pretty sick website, not much more to say. We also have Kodorian, PPMD, and PewPew. PPMD and PewPew had some old stuff, you kinda have to search a bit, but it's pretty easy to find. For Puff, there is sadly not a lot of analytical content from the Puff's perspective, but Toussaint and Dawson have some good stuff. For Falco, we have Ginger, Ober, and Fiction. And you might not have heard of Ober, but Ober has some more technical Falco shenanigans that might be worth checking out. Sheik, like Puff, doesn't have a lot of content creators, but the best ones in my opinion are Kirby Cause's coaching on the channel Melee Coaching, and once again Drugged Fox. Captain Falcon, on the other hand, has a lot more content, and he has an amazing website called Melee.cookbook.gg, which basically summarizes and compresses everything interesting into one website, and it's super searchable, categorized, it has everything you need. But if you're more interested in specific YouTube channels, then we have Wizrobe, 20GX, and S2A. For Peach, you have to look pretty deep to find anything interesting. Armada has a playlist with a couple of Peach games and a couple of other characters, but mostly Peach specific analytical content. There is also Wisp's channel, Let's Wisp, And finally we have Quetzalcoatl. When it comes to analytical content around ice climbers, there is a GOAT, and that is Slug. He has a shit ton of content, it's pretty well structured, it's very interesting, it covers basically every topic. Yeah, you can mainly just use Slug. And another bonus is that he's a very active player, and he's getting pretty good results right now. But if you want some extra supplemental content, there is Fractal Black, who has a lot of older videos. Pikachu is quite interesting, because I couldn't find a single channel with a lot of analytical Pikachu content. Of course there are a couple of videos from Axe or similar, but in general I couldn't find a good source for Pikachu videos. If you want some Pikachu content, I guess you'll just have to go pro and make some yourself. When it comes to Yoshi, we of course have Amsa. He has a bit of analytical content, pretty interesting. I don't know, I don't main Yoshi. And then finally for Samus we have Gumi, Casual, and then there is this fantastic playlist with a ton of Samus YouTube videos that I've also linked in the description, which is not a single channel, but pretty much every instructional Samus video is there. If you're interested in content for another character that I did not mention, then tough luck, I guess you'll have to search for yourself. Thank you very much for watching, I'll see you later, I guess. Bye bye.